I want to talk about linear momentum, and I want to show you how it's related to a concept that you've already studied, which is Newtonian force. So think of all of the mass of an object contained in that dot. And let's say that this mass m is moving with some velocity v. I'll put a m to denote the mass of the object. So that object has inertia, which is the mass of the object is what allows us to gauge the inertia of the object. The more massive that object is, the harder it would be to get it moving. And once it gets moving, the harder it would be to change its motion. And when I say harder, I mean the more and more force that's necessary. Objects at rest tend to remain at rest. Objects in motion tend to remain in the same motion. In other words, objects tend to keep doing what they're doing unless there's a net force that acts on them. And so that propensity to keep doing what you're doing, that's the concept of inertia. So with some mass m moving with some velocity v, we combine the inertial properties of that object with the motion properties as gauged by velocity. And we have this term we call momentum, which we symbolize with the letter P. And we say that momentum is equal to mass times velocity. So what I want to do is I want to show you that this can actually be thought of in terms of a concept that we've already covered with respect to force. And so remember, force equals mass. So again, there's that inertia times acceleration. Okay. Well, what was acceleration? Acceleration is equal to the time rate of change of velocity. It's how much the velocity changes over time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this relationship and plug it right here. So force can also be thought of as mass times delta V over delta T. All right. So look at that delta V, delta T term. Since mass is constant, I could put the mass inside the delta right next to the velocity. It doesn't matter whether I multiply it on the outside or the inside. It's just constant. It multiplies by the velocity change over time the same way. And so look how I've written it now. What is this MV term right here? Well, that's this. So this is the same thing as delta P delta T. So in other words, you can think of Newton's second law as force equals mass times the change in momentum over the change in time. That is another way in which you can think of Newton's second law, because acceleration is related to velocity and velocity is related to momentum. And so just to write this more explicitly, F equals delta P delta T. Force is equal to the change in momentum over the change in time. Okay, so this relationship, I hope, will allow you to better understand the notion of conservation of momentum. And so more specifically, let's say that we have a situation where you have two different objects. And so let's say that this object has mass m1 and it's moving to the right with velocity v1. And let's say this mass is mass m2 and it is moving to the left with some velocity v2. So let's imagine that these masses keep moving towards each other until they get to some point where they collide. And then at some later point, they're going to bounce back in the opposite directions. And when that happens, the mass is still what it is for each of the objects. But now, let's say that we're going to call up top V1 initial and V2 initial. And so after the collision, so bam, they hit each other and then they go in the opposite directions. So we'll call this V1 final, and we'll call this V2 final. And so by relating momentum to force, we can solve this problem by recognizing that if you consider the system just those two masses colliding into each other, then when they hit each other right here, when they hit each other, there's going to be equal and opposite forces acting on the objects. There's going to be a force on mass 1 by mass 2 that's in that direction, but then there's also going to be a force on mass 2 by mass 1 that's in that direction. And this is where Newton's third law comes into play. If you've got two objects, even if their masses are different, even if their velocities are different, when they smack into each other, they exert equal and opposite forces on each other. That doesn't mean that their trajectories are going to be identical, because remember, the more or less inertia you have, the more that you might see a change in its motion based upon how much inertia it has. So that being said, the two objects very much do exert equal and opposite forces on each other. So if you have equal and opposite forces on each other, so in other words, let's say that the net force acting on the system of two masses colliding into each other is going to equal 0, because equal and opposite means they cancel each other out. And so again, if force can also be expressed as delta P, delta T, again, that's the change in momentum over the change in time. So that means that the change in momentum over the change in time is 0. If the change is 0, it means it's constant. And so P is constant. That's another way of saying it's not changing. And so when momentum remains constant throughout this process of these two masses flying into each other, colliding and going back in the other direction, we say that the momentum is conserved. And so if the momentum is conserved, so follow me up here, this means that momentum initial equals momentum final. So this allows us to set up problems because we can tally all the momentum at the beginning and all the momentum at the end. And we know if there was no net forces acting on the system and forces related to momentum, then we know that there's no change in momentum, which means that the momentum before, when we account for all the momentum in the system, and the momentum after, when we account for all the momentum in the system, must be the same. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to say M1 initial, V1 initial, plus M2 initial, V2 initial equals, so what I've done right now is I've accounted for the total momentum of the system for both masses at the beginning. And so now let's account for it at the end. Now we've got the mass 1's final mass, which is going to be the same, by the way, because unless told otherwise, you're going to assume the mass remains the same. And then you've got whatever its velocity final is plus m2 final, v2 final. And so you could probably imagine different problems that give you different velocities or different masses, and you'll have to solve for some unknowns. But the key here is to set this equation up. You need to know that the total momentum of the system, even though the momentum might change, right? When the velocity is changed, momentum changes. So how much momentum is in each object can change. But when you sum up all of the total momentum, if you know that the net forces on the system are zero, and you can relate force to momentum, namely force is equal to the change in momentum over the change in time, then if the net force equals zero, the change in momentum over the change in time equals zero. That's another way of saying that the momentum doesn't change. There is no rate of change. And when you say the momentum doesn't change, that means that it is constant before and after. And that's what we mean by momentum conservation. And so momentum conservation allows me to write the equation I just did, where I summed up the momenta of both objects before, and I can equate them to the momenta of both objects afterwards. What I just showed you is what's called a perfectly elastic collision. And by perfectly elastic, I mean we are going to ignore, say, friction forces, and we are just going to assume that the only forces that are acting during the collision are the equal and opposite forces by Newton's third law that allow us to sum up those equal and opposite forces to see there's no net force on the system. And that's the key to telling us then that there's no change in the momentum, i.e. the momentum is constant.